Next up, we have Fearless Fighter from the Five Nights at Freddy's World soundtrack composed by Leon Riskin. Once again, everybody, this is a Basterd's LFA, a layman-friendly analysis. I am a professionally trained musician / composer, and my objective here is to explain things in a way that you don't have to be a professionally trained musician to understand what is happening here musically. So if you like the sound of that, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. You like the video, share the video, all that good stuff, if you're watching in the archive version of the video. This is recorded live on stream, so there's going to be a lot of pausing in here, and we're recording all this in one take. So keep that in mind. So here Just Bill says, for more context, this one here is from a mini game in Five Nights at Freddy's World, similar to Cuphead's plain bosses called Foxy Fighters. In fact, you can see the minigame characters in the thumbnail on the top right. So there you go. So with that being said, let's listen to this. Let's go. Fearless Fighter. Enjoy. We are 6 seconds in, and we already have this 80s psychedelic, futuristic rock that it is just so much fun to have. And we had a couple of elements here. First, we had, of course, the keyboard / synthesizer giving us the chords that we're using, but with the top kind of having like an extra bell, giving us a semblance of a melody and the motif. The motif, of course, being the smallest version of a musical idea, the seed from which everything else comes from. Very, very useful to develop melodies using a motif. It's a skill to use motific development. So there's that. So we have that. We have the drums. We have a little bit of bass going on in there, giving us that very 80s feeling that is just so much fun. Let's see where they take this. Oh no, there's a synth with the melody. There's a synth with the melody in the background. I couldn't hear it at first, but there you go. So yeah, the synth holding the chords with the bell, no, that was not it. Turns out that was just holding the chords. And the other synth, the one that's kind of in the back, because right now we have panning going on. Once again, the concept of panning, from the previous video, we have the concept of panning, which is, this is the listener, and we have a left ear / headphone / speaker and a right ear / headphone / speaker when it comes to stereo. So when you introduce panning, what you are doing is that you are making the sounds being prioritized on one speaker over the other. So in this case, we are having the synth with the chords playing mainly on the right side, on the right ear. And the left side is having a couple of the other elements. This used to be a required thing back when we had less technology. For example, the Beatles recorded with only 4 tracks. So 2 tracks would be on the left side of the ear, 2 tracks would be on the right side of the ear. And that's why they had this kind of like music from that age tends to have such a weird sounding mix because there's a lot of panning like that. Nowadays, we use it more for dramatic effect. For example, it's very, very common for people to do harmonized melodies, so basically the same melody but starting at a different point of the scale, and having one of them playing on one ear and the other one playing on the second. Extremely common in heavy metal with that kind of stuff. But what if I am Eldritch Abomination with hearing instruments all over? Then you are listening to surround sound. The difference is, because this is left and right is for stereo sound. Mono means that there's only one source of sound. Stereo means that there's 2, left and right. Surround usually can mean up to 7. I think we're up to 7, maybe a bit more. Consumer market would be around 7. 7 points of sound. So you would have 1, 2, I think 3, 4, I think 5. You might have a couple of extras over here, with 5 being probably the buffer for the bass, that kind of stuff. So it gives you the sense that you're surrounded by the sound. Fake name was taken on. Oh, that sucks. That sucks. and my hearing tools are in a different dimension, well, you're in a different dimension then, and then sound probably doesn't kind of play the same as us now, does it? But yeah, in the end, we're having right now is that the chords are being held on the right ear, which is a weird thing. It's a weird thing to do. It's a very unusual choice to have, especially because if it's the instrument that is holding your chords. Not the first time we've seen this kind of choice from the Five Nights at Freddy's World soundtrack, because this is not the first track we do from them, which I think it's a risk. I consider doing flat panning or outright panning where it only sounds on one ear, because nowadays we do have the technology that you will have left ear and right ear, and basically you can kind of hear like 50% of the instrument and 100% on the other ear. So 50% on the left, 100% on the right kind of thing. So you can still hear it on one ear. And in the case of somebody who, if you live with people, which, a good chunk of the Five Nights at Freddy's demographic is aimed at children. And children will very often want to have one earphone off, because you never know when somebody's going to come knocking on the door or when somebody's going to call your name, right? Same with, it doesn't have to be just children, right? If you're a dude or a girl, you're living with your spouse or with more family, like if you're living with other people, chances are you're going to want to have one headphone not entirely all the way in, so that you can hear the other in case somebody else needs you, kind of thing. So panning, 100% risky move. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying that it doesn't take that into account. Which, to be fair, you as the composer don't have to. You are under no obligation to take that into account. You want to make the music the way you want to make it. So that's the counter argument, right? You have no obligation to do this. That's just something that I take into consideration for my music. You can listen to my music in one earphone and you can still hear the whole thing, kind of thing. So let's continue. And we have that synth in the back. So yeah, you're having the right ear with the chords and the left ear is static. That is a choice. That is a choice. For Five Nights at Freddy's, considering the themes, it might make sense. I can respect that. Ballsy move. I think it's paying off. We remove the main synth, and we bring in... Okay, we remove the main synth, which... fairly, again, another ballsy move to not have your melody be front and center. These synths that are playing the main melody are a little bit further in the back in the mix. The main things you are hearing in the mix are the chords on the right ear, the static on the left ear, the drums, and then behind all of that, choked away, faded away, suffocated away, is the main melody. Really interesting. It kind of emulates a little bit the music that it's trying to emulate. So again, these make sense. I'm just saying these are ballsy choices to make. And yeah, we went from theme number 1, which was a very legato thing. Megumi, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the mosh pit. You have this melody that was very legato, very playing through the entire notes and everything, and now we're going through a more short burst, more staccato melody, shorter notes, shorter playings, for the contrasting melody, which in this case we are going from section A to section B. And whenever you go from section A to section B, you want to make something that contrasts, but not totally entirely throws off the other people. So yeah, now it's playing more like chords, more like in a dance mode. And back we go. So now 2 synths, doubling. Pretty nice melody. Which, something that you want to keep in mind is melodies that go on for too long become tricky to memorize. Is that a bad thing? Not really, no. But when it comes to composition, you want to keep in mind that one of the things you want to do, especially if you have a melody, you want your listener to remember the melody. An earworm is a really good thing if you're a composer. Because if somebody can't get the damn melody out of their ears, you did something really well. And making a very long melody, making a very long melody reduces the chances of the person doing that. However, it makes sense that you're developing the melody because developing a melody is fun. However, the most effective way of developing a melody would be via motific development, which means you are taking the same musical idea, the same small musical idea, and you're exploring that exclusively. It's really difficult to do. It's really, really difficult to do. It takes a lot of skill compositionally. Again, the most famous example of that is Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. Ba-ba-ba-bum. That's the whole thing. That half-a-second motif is it's the seed from which the entirety of the 40-plus minute symphony comes from. The whole symphony revolves around that one idea that is played over and over and over and over and over. And that is why when you hear Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, even though the melodies are different from one another, they still sound familiar because they are. You know, the first movement. Second movement. It's not entirely, it's different, but you still remember, you're still being hammered in that idea. So you want that kind of thing with your motific development. You want that with your motifs, but it's not necessary. I'm saying this is an ideal, but it's not necessary for a good track, because this has been pretty good so far. Let's continue. New section, contrasting. It's more like the first section we had. It's kind of like the first section we had, but instead of having static, now we have a guitar on the left ear playing against the beat of the right ear. That's what was happening. So the first time around, we had this one kind of not playing at all. Now we have this one playing the guitar. Now I see where he was going. Those synths with the melody, really fun. And back we go to the melody. There we go, there's the main motif. We bring it to the other synth with a variation of that motif. We bring it to a climax, and... oh? It's just gonna cut off. Okay! Okay, so it just cuts off. So it just cuts off because it loops right back. It cuts off because it loops right back. If we play this like this... yup, it just loops right back into the start. So this track is meant to be played in the loop, and instead of stopping the track, Leon decided, let's just keep it going. Let's just keep it going. So again, many fairly ballsy moves that I would say for the choices here. The main one being your melody being hidden. I am a very melodically driven musician. I love having melodies. I love developing melodies. I've put a lot of time into learning how to develop melodies. So not having that front and center for me is almost unthinkable. It's almost unthinkable. So I consider that a risky choice. I'm not going to say whether or not it's good or bad. I think it's risky to not have your melody front and center. But this also gave us that really cool retro sound to a lot of these things. So overall, this was a pretty fun track to listen to. It accomplished the whole vibe of the old school 80s, like almost psychedelic trance, what punk, cyberpunk esque kind of feelings. Really, really, really cool in that sense. And I think it accomplishes its objective of, fearless fighter. Like the melody was very heroic. The melody was very heroic in general, and against a beat like that, it was just fun. It was just fun. So there you have it. That was Fearless Fighter from the Five Nights at Freddy's World soundtrack, composed by Leon Riskin. Once again, everybody, this has been a Basterd's LFA, a layman-friendly analysis. I'm a professionally trained musician / composer, and I hope that I have explained things in a manner that you don't have to be a professionally trained musician to understand what has happened here musically. If you like that, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like the video, share the video. And if you want to catch these streams live, description down below will contain the links to the Twitch and the Discord, which contain the stream schedules and the links for you to tune in to the next streams. So, schedule can change it every once in a while, but they're shown in your local time zone. There you go. Thank you for watching. And if you want to request a song and you're not watching this on the live stream, just leave a comment with what you want me to do next. Game soundtracks only, original soundtracks only. And yeah, we'll get it done in the next LFA live stream. So there you go. Thank you for watching. Until next time. There you have it. That was Fearless Fighter from Five Nights at Freddy's World. Good stuff. Good stuff. But yeah, let's